You've been watching a lot of City this season. I guess the difference is when Everton get the goal, the body language of the City players, you can almost see the confidence draining away. And that's one of the key differences, isn't it, between what we've seen in so many of the previous seasons?
Yeah, it's a real surprise because it's almost like the self-belief's gone. It didn't really matter before this run, even if they score and then they concede. It was almost like, it's OK, we'll continue doing what we're doing and we'll find a way to get the result. And just at the minute, it almost feels like when it goes against them, it's like their heads drop, their shoulders drop. It's almost like, well, that's it, we're not going to win this game. And for a side that's been as good as they've been in experience, they've won some of the biggest trophies there is, it's a real surprise. But as Clinton was saying there, I mean, the game could have changed. If Haaland scores the penalty, you expect Manchester City to go on and win that game. But these are just things that are going against them at the minute. But when you've got a squad of players that are as good as they've got, yes, maybe one or two of them are getting a bit on in age, I still believe that this run will not continue. At some point, they're too good of players to just let it continue. Once they get that goal, that game and that result, I expect them to go on a run. But we can't keep sitting here and saying it's going to change, it's going to change. At some point, it has to.
And so much of their success over the last few seasons under Pep Guardiola is that slick, fast passing play, the methodical build-up at times. But in the hole that they're in at the moment, form-wise, has that build-up become almost a little bit too methodical? But then you look at Guardiola and think, well, he's probably not going to change, is he, in terms of how he approaches games, or is he?
No, it won't change, because why would you change when you've had as much success that he's had? And you have continuity, you have the way of playing, it's slick. It's just not quite there. It's just not quite happening. Silva had a chance where he goes with the outside of his boot, and I was watching thinking, that's a player that you sort of shouldn't be lacking confidence, but they are. The whole group is. It was a great chance, and that could have been the difference. But when Haaland has a penalty, he misses it. These things where they're creating opportunities. A couple of months ago, they would have been going in. Or certainly last season. I even think, look, early on in this season when they weren't probably as clinical as what we've seen. They were getting over the line. You look at Wolves, you look at Fulham. They won the game. But I think they were very fortunate, and at the moment things just aren't happening from. They're on the other end of nearly being there. Kovacic has a strike; it just goes past the post. But you asked me the other day, do I believe they'll still finish in the top four? I'm starting to blink. I'm starting to sway a little bit. Yeah, I am a little bit because
I mean, you can't see them losing today, or can you?
If they lose today, wow! But I thought that against Everton, sat next to Sue, Big Blue, and I thought this has got to be the turnaround. I watched them against Forest when they beat them 3-0. But one winning 13 in all competitions is concerning. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've done in the past. This is where we are.
6 points behind your boys.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't see anything but a win against Leicester today.
Will Forest finish above them, Dawes?
Look, I still with 6 points. They are behind. I said it the other day, Tim. It could be one of those seasons. We saw it with Leicester when they won the Premier League. The so-called bigger teams, your Man City, your Man United, your Spurs, that you put them in the top 6 at the start of the season, or I certainly did. And to see where Forest are, why not? Why can't they, the way they're playing Nottingham Forest?
Have they got a better chance to win the Champions League than they have finishing in the top 4? I would not sit here now and rule them out of winning the Champions League. I think with the current form, with the run, of course, but I can see them turning it around. I think they will qualify. They're in a tricky situation. Come February, they have some players back to fitness. They got a squad of players. They've got a team what he can put together, and they've certainly got a manager who can win the Champions League, in my opinion. And I think if I'm Pep Guardiola, that's what I'm telling that group of players. This is not finished, this league. You don't write this off. You can still win the FA Cup, and you can win one of the biggest prizes ever, which is the Champions League for the second time.
It's just mistakes are leading. You see the ball goes up for the Everton goal. Doku brings it down. He loses it. The ball comes in. Akanji misses it. It's
but with that last
mistakes, but they're getting punished at this moment in time. A brilliant finish by Erling Haaland. Whereas this probably teams were scared of going up against Man City. I don't think anyone's scared. It's going to be so interesting to see the game against.
Well, do you think if it's not Haaland, someone else has got to step up? The Alvarez. When they sold Alvarez, I did think.
Well, I was going to ask you about Haaland because, I mean, listen, 1 goal in his last 7, but we know that at any point, particularly today against Leicester, who leaked 10 goals in the last 3 games, he can suddenly fire again. But that penalty was his only shot on target in the whole game. When things are going good and he's not contributing for large parts of the game, it's OK because he will at some point. We're in this kind of run. Is he there on reputation or there on form at the moment for you, Benty?
Well, no, his form's not been good enough, but I think with a player like someone like Haaland, you can't take him out of your team. You just
But
can't.
he's getting no service at the moment.
Again, he could do probably a little bit more, but he's played the same way throughout his whole career. And I mean, he's still a young enough player, and he's still got over 250 career goals. Now, that just doesn't happen by accident. Now, yes, he could do a little bit more in terms of getting involved in the game, but he's not done that. And I still think you give him the opportunities, he'll still score goals. And I think that's why you have to leave him there. I know at times people have said that you may be playing with 10 men when he's not playing well, but you know full well, and we've seen it at City, he came these first season, broke records, scored 20 goals second season, he'll get 20 goals again this season. I just think, yes, he's going through a bit of a blip, but you know that what he can do once he catches fire. And I think we're not too far away from that, because even in this run, he still could have probably scored 6 or 7 goals. Yeah. But for strikers, you go through these barren runs where if he wasn't getting the opportunity, you'd go, it's a bit of a concern. But him, by his own high standards, he's missed some big chances.
Is he overthinking it?
Yeah, he's definitely. Yeah, you do overthink it as a centre forward. But he sets so much high standards. That's why we talk about him if he doesn't score for 3 or 4 games.
And I just wonder, Clinton, because those famous words, stay humble. Since he uttered those words,
that's just
3 goals in 13 Premier League games.
Yeah,
I wonder if he looks back on that and rather wishes he hadn't said those words.
Yeah, maybe he wishes he hasn't said it, but I still think at the time he's in his emotions and he meant what he said to Mikel Arteta. He did, but since that he hasn't been hitting them heights. But I think what Bentley said made a good point. If I'm a centre forward, I'm more worried if I'm not getting the chances. He's still getting chances, so he knows eventually he'll go and get 1 and 2. All he needs is that penalty to kickstart. They're not creating a lot of chances. Their best players sitting on the bench, Kevin De Bruyne. So
what is going on with De Bruyne?
Well, I'd love to know. I'd love to know, because obviously it must be an injury concern. He must not be fully fit. He can't be 100% not fit. He must still be struggling. I think he had the groin injury, because if you've got a fully fit Kevin De Bruyne and you're not winning football matches, you're keeping on the bench. That is madness.
You know, Haaland's not the issue, because when you look at Haaland, he's got 13 goals. The next top goal scorer is Vardio, then Kovacic.
Yeah.
Now, those two cannot be your second and third top goal scorers.
Won in the Premier League.
Foden's got to step up. Doku's got to step up. I know De Bruyne has had his moments as well. So
to
look at Haaland and go, he's the problem, when he's sitting there on 13 goals, you've got to start looking around the rest of the team.
But Dawes, they've got problems, but what they do have is manoeuvrability within the January transfer window, which opens in 3 days' time, and predictably at this time of year, they're already, along with lots of other teams, being connected with lots of different players. Talked this morning about coming in for Zubimendi at Real Sociedad, perhaps Musiala, Bayern Munich. We know just how good he is. And Mark Gay, once again,
I'm not
being
sure about that one.
Well, Clinton, what are you not sure about?
I don't want
the link or it happening?
You can have him in the summer. Let him stay till January. Come on, he's our captain.
You're getting a bit emotional.
Yeah, it will be.
Emotion
If
out
he
of it.
goes,
You're worried, aren't you?
I am worried. He's a top player. But over to you.
No, they need some reinforcements. They need
defence, central midfield.
Yeah, they've had so many injuries, along with every other team, by the way. There's been an awful lot of injuries throughout the league, so it's how you deal with it and players coming in. But in that defensive area, it's certainly been a big issue, with Ake being out from times, Diaz, John Stones, and you look in the right-back position as well with Kai Walker. I think it epitomises where Manchester City are. They chop and change all the time. If you've got a winning team, I know you might make the odd tweaks, but you don't make as many changes.
But I wonder if, because we know that Guardiola likes to work with a small squad, and that's been rather exposed, hasn't it, because of the number of injuries. And we can talk lots about why this is happening to so many clubs, because it is right at this particular moment, and they will talk. We heard about Rodri early in the season, talk about the sheer number of games, the possibility of players maybe going on strike at some point. He's now out for the rest of the season. But the smallness of that squad that he likes, been a bit exposed in recent weeks, hasn't it?
Well, that will always be questioned when you do get numerous injuries, and you look at the substitutions bench against Everton. I mean, it was full of young kids that we haven't heard an awful lot of. I mean, you only get the opportunity sometimes through injuries, but for Manchester City, when you're a team that has won 4 Premier League titles, and then maybe players aren't playing to the level that we expect, and that's something that people have talked about, an ageing squad. I'm more on the side of, I look at the confidence and the mistakes that they're making, individually, collectively. It's not just 1 or 2 mistakes. One leads to another, then the ball ends up in the back of the net, which probably teams were taking advantage of. I look at that, but there will be certainly players coming in, even if it's 2 or 3. It will just give that group of players that are looking around the dressing room going, we need some help. And we've all been in dressing rooms where you go, we're down to the bare bones. I'm struggling personally. He's struggling. Who's going to come in and give us a little bit of a lift? And I think that's what Manchester.
The trouble is, Dawes, they need them players now.
Yeah.
They're difficult to find in January. Really
always,
difficult.
Yeah.
So you end up bringing players who should be anywhere near a Man City shirt. in normal circumstances
Yeah.
into your football club. I'm not suggesting Guy because I think he's a top player, but you end up like with a Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
You know, you end up someone who's never going to play, and then even when everyone's fit and ready, they end up sitting on the bench forever. It's not, that's the last thing he would want to do. He'd rather give the kids an opportunity to play because who knows, with the finances and the situation when they find themselves in, have they got the money? You know, is it there for them to spend? Are they going to try and find a few loans? That might be possible. People will come into them, but they're very difficult to find. Better loan players to come into Man City, well, better than what they've already got. Look,
Tough.
This guy
In January, tough.
This guy will get it right. They'll probably win today. They'll go on a run. All these players that we've been questioning, all of a sudden step up again, get a little bit of confidence, and they just whip the floor with everyone in their sight, and they can win the Champions League without a doubt.
They're favourites at the moment. You think, based on everything you've seen this season, they can win it?
From what we've seen this season, what we've seen seasons before, yeah, I think this can't go on. This is a dip. It cannot go on. It
But we
won't
said that
go
a month ago, and it
I kept
it's still
saying
going on now, but it won't go on. When push comes to shove, they will not. They will be able to rest players in the Premier League for the Champions League. If they target the Champions League and the FA Cup, they can win it with some players back to fitness, which they will get after the new year.